Hello, welcome back. I'm Francis Pinula, and I thought we'd begin with a discussion on the what and the why about change. I'm not sure how long these videos are going to be. I'm currently going to keep them probably about 5-10 minutes, hopefully, just to avoid too much boredom. I mean, I've run meetings that were 90 minutes long. I usually do like hour-long one-on-one sessions, but for these videos, just to try and condense the information, make it more easy to digest, I figure I'll keep it around 5-10 minutes, and we'll go from there. All right, so getting started, looking at the what of the change, and then we'll go on to the why. So for the first part, what is it that you'd like to change about yourself or your life? Is it something you'd like to add to your life, something you're letting go of, or a bit of both? And I gave an example, something like, I would like to bring more joy into my life and worry less, bring more happiness, bring more peace, bring more serenity, like these kind of things, where it's not something specific that you are aiming towards, but something you want to feel more of in your life. And that sometimes can be more difficult to define, so we can, start to look at different aspects of that. So for example, for that, I'd like to bring more joy into my life and worry less, maybe we're adding in more fun, joyful activities, more people that are positive, more people that bring you happiness and joy, maybe that you haven't talked to in a while or haven't connected with, some perspectives. Sometimes maybe it's something like acceptance or learning a new skill, like how to not take things personally, to borrow from the four agreements, level of gratitude. Sometimes it's our mental perspective that changes, that can actually change how we feel about our situation without changing the actual circumstances themselves. Although that in itself can be a goal. I want to change my living situation. I'd like to change my work situation. I'd like to get a new partner in my life. These are things that they're actual material issues, material circumstances that you're changing. And also to look at the other side of it, the letting go of. Maybe we're letting go of regrets. Maybe we're letting go of, for ourselves, resentments, judgments of others. Sometimes we're letting go of people, sometimes places, sometimes things that aren't serving us anymore. And getting to know these things and to develop this and outline these things that are helping you, that are serving you, and these things that really aren't working for you. That can be part of this process, especially if it's a general feeling of, displeasure, unease, just general dissatisfaction, lack of fulfillment, that sometimes comes in people's lives. So it may be helpful to work on these things from both sides of the equation. A lot of times I think we're addressing one part of it, like maybe we're addressing the mental aspect, but not just addressing the physical circumstances. Sometimes maybe we're letting go of different things, but we're not working on our internal stuff for ourselves. So to try and get it from both sides, so that way I figure the more different variables, the more different things that we can affect, the more likely it is that we can see some level of change, which is our ultimate goal. And it'll be our checking in with ourselves and seeing how we feel. Do we feel more at peace? Do we feel more joyful? Do we feel more happy through this process, to see if the things that we are letting go of, the things that we're bringing in, are actually working towards this process and serving it? And forgive me if I'm going too fast. This is a lot. This is normally how I talk. So I thought we'd talk about also some areas of some personal development, and one, the first being mental. And that mental area of personal development can be anything like working on your memory, working on your focus, learning meditation in order to defocus, in order to be able to zen out and let go a bit. Sometimes mental development can be learning a new mental skill. Let's look at social. Sometimes your social development could be expanding your group of friends. Sometimes that can look like getting out and trying like a cooking class, getting out, trying a meetup. I know that's hard during COVID, but hopefully, a lot of these things will be in person again, or at least virtual if that's an option for you, if you're scared to go out, with during COVID. And for more social aspects, that could be also a partner. Suppose that you've been single for a long time and you're looking to add someone into your life. That could be an area of personal development. It's having a relationship or working on being able to maintain relationships. Spiritual development, maybe that at some point in your life you'd like to ask yourself these questions: the what do I think, what do I feel, what are some of my beliefs? And sometimes maybe going and checking out some different philosophies, some different underlying belief systems can help you get in touch with that aspect of spirituality, because there's so many different roads and so many different people that can offer you different perspectives, but ultimately it's what resonates with you and what feels right for you will help in your spiritual development. For emotional development, that can be things like I said, learning, unconditional self-acceptance, unconditional other acceptance, to borrow from Albert Ellis, but some of these different areas of emotional development, not being ruled by your emotions, not letting things like fear, anger, anxiety take over you to cause you to make irrational choices, irrational decisions that don't actually benefit your goals. And something that I had to learn was that irrational does not mean illogical. Irrational is what doesn't help you towards your long-term goals and isn't sustainable. So sometimes just because something is logical or justifiable in my head, if it doesn't actually help me towards my goals, whether it's a belief, something like, oh, I may fail at this, that could be an unhelpful belief. And suppose that you've had issues in the past where you have failed at projects. Carrying that into the next thing is not going to help in your long-term goal. You can try and learn things from it, try and take things from it, but carrying these worries, carrying these fears forward aren't going to help you towards your goal. Even if you can look back and justify them, they're not rational towards your goals, just to give an example. But that stuff I can dive into at another point. And then physical personal development. I mean, I went and worked out today. I went for a nice walk and probably go for a run later. It's something that I'm into post-COVID. It wasn't actually a huge area of my personal development for quite a while. And then I think, like a lot of people, I'd gained weight during quarantine and decided I didn't like the way I felt. So once again, here's an area of personal development, physical development. I began to think, okay, what are things that I can change? What are some steps that I can take? I went and talked to some doctors, make sure I was good for, do some weight work and some stuff like that, go start walking around my neighborhood, all that stuff. And then started developing a training program, got a gym membership, started researching, learning about nutrition, all these different things that add to your health and wellness. Because when you add up all these different aspects, that's when you're going to get your overall picture of like a quality of life. If I have good mental health, good mental development, and I feel good about myself mentally, I'm probably going to feel better quality of life. Whereas if I'm mentally stressed constantly, if I have good social development, I have a good support system around me, good people, good connection with my family, friends, a partner, whatever that looks like for you, that's going to help you feel better in your overall quality of life. In spiritual development, I think it's just a natural part of being a human being is to ask yourself these existential questions. And at some point in people's lives, they begin to. I lived a long time in recovery, and when you're in deep heroin addiction, you are pretty close to your mortality, and you will develop some sense of spirituality. And, like they say, there's no atheist in a foxhole. And when you've been in some dark places, sometimes that's what helps you develop these things. Now I've carried that forth and now have a positive version of spirituality that now I can share with other people as well. But that's a whole other story as well. The emotional development, learning how not to let things like anger cost you jobs, cost you relationships, things like fear to cost you potentially going out for, jobs, relationships, these same kind of things, but it can be a fear of doing something that isn't monetarily beneficial, but just a hobby that you enjoy. It can be anything, but not letting unhelpful emotional disturbances affect you to where it's keeping you from developing yourself, from keeping you from living a full life and feel confident. Sorry if I'm stumbling a little bit. I got no script for this stuff. I'll just go off the top with it. Gives me a basic outline here, but here we are. And let's see. And lastly, let's get to the why. So in asking ourselves, about the thing that we wish to change, why? Why is it that we would like to change? And sometimes it can be a positive motivator. Sometimes it's a negative motivator. Sometimes there's something you're reaching towards, like something you're letting go of. I also use a term, for lack of better terms, and it's clear, carrots and sticks. Sometimes there's something that I'm experiencing that I'm not a fan of that I'd like to change my life or change my perspective around. Sometimes there's things that I really would like to bring into my life, and it could be a clear-cut goal. Like I'd like to learn an instrument, for example, which can add more joy, more positivity to my life. I do play an instrument, but I just love giving that example because I encourage a lot of people to do it as a hobby if they're into it, but why? Because I'd like to have that skill. I'd like to be able to just do it for myself or with other people. The why now? Maybe you are learning how to fill your time in better ways. Maybe you previously on a Friday night would have been drinking, using different things like that, and now instead you are practicing your hobby, practicing your skill. Maybe you're making YouTube videos, whatever it is, filling this time. Like it all kind of works together. And really, this is like a giant puzzle that I'm trying to lay out the pieces one bit at a time. And I've literally drawn it out on a whiteboard like a jigsaw puzzle. And that in all these different areas, you know, you have your overall quality of life, just like them areas of personal development. And we're kind of just putting these pieces together. So in these small increments in these videos, my goal is to just keep on building on that, keep on shedding light and, you know, expanding on these concepts. And to start with the what is it that you'd like to change? And sometimes you might not be clear on that, but you know that you want to experience something different. And that's that first question. And then the why. And sometimes the what you're experiencing can help you understand the what. You know, if I'm experiencing a bit of unfulfillment, okay, well then what can help me bring fulfillment? Where are times I've felt fulfilled before? What are activities and things I do that bring me more fulfillment? You know, if I'm experiencing a lot of anxiety, what are things that bring me peace? What are things that bring me serenity? So maybe the change is, you know, learning how to meditate, learning how to, you know, expand my mental awareness, my focus, so that I can shift it when I'm in these cycles, you know, that are leading towards fear, anxiety, these different things. You know, working on my negative self-talk, developing positive self-talk, developing a positive relationship with yourself. You know, like I could really go on and on about this stuff, but over time, that's my goal, is to just break down these concepts, the stuff that I've learned along the way. This is stuff that I use in my life all the time. This is stuff that has helped me because, you know, for anyone that had known me previously, you know, like I didn't work on a lot of this stuff, and it was through the negative experience, the realizing what it is I didn't want in life, and then developing what is it I do want. I want to help people, you know, I want to support people, you know, I want to help people feel more connected to one another, to feel they're not alone. Like, how can I do these things? What is the what? You know, it's pretty good. You know, for in this example, the what is how can I spread this message? You know, how can I spread these concepts to other people? And sometimes it takes a different form, like YouTube, which is really different than how I've been doing this. You know, so for me, this is quite a big change. But you know, I'm just hoping that through my experience, you know, that I can share some of this and to help some of y'all. And thank you very much. Have a great day.